Alright, hi YouTube. So this is going to be our build for a prop called Gorcleave, and this is the concept for it. It's based off of a lot of fantasy orcish axe designs, very rough, very weathered. So here you see us cutting out the silhouette, and the silhouette is basically the basic outline for the prop itself. For anything you're doing, a sword, a knife, an axe, anything like that, you're going to want to make an outline, and here we're doing it out of insulation foam. You can do it out of a lot of different things, but insulation foam is very easy to work with, very good material, because it's easy to carve into, plus it's lightweight, and it might not have a lot of compressibility, but it passes weapons check at a lot of conventions, so it's pretty good. Here we're using box cutters to cut out the silhouette. You can use any knife that you want, anything that takes off material from what you're doing, and you see us here using two different techniques. Caden is cutting out the basic silhouette of it, and it's really close to the line, and that saves you a lot of time, and you're going to want to be as close to the line as possible, because it really saves you time when you're really like truing up lines later on. Okay, so here in this next clip, I'm talking. Don't mind that. Just focus on what I'm saying right now. Here I'm demonstrating what I'm doing to put the dowel in the head of the axe itself. Basically, you're gonna want to mark it so that you have a general area of where you want your dowel to go. What I did with the dowel is I took it and I wrapped it in sandpaper, just the end of it, and taped it. So that basically conforms to the shape of the dowel, and you'll see later that when I'm sanding it, it's going to take the shape of the dowel. Here, I took the dowel and, like I said, I'm sanding it, just moving it back and forth. You're gonna want to use a lower grit, sandpaper for this, because lower the grit, the more material it'll take off of the stock. And you don't want to use a higher grit for this because it'll take you way more time. This saves you a lot of time. You're gonna see me in a second. I'm going to take the dowel itself and without the sandpaper use the other end to check the alignment of it. So how deep I am, how far left or right I am of the line, how much I need to sand more. Now here I'm marking out what's called the bevel, and it's basically the edge of the head of the axe, and I'm marking it out with the ruler, just a marker. It's good to do this so that you can gauge the distance on each side and make sure that it's even on each side, because in most blades the bevel is going to go to a certain length away from the edge into the head of the axe, evenly on either the front or the side, you know. And here I'm transferring it to the side so I can have it the same distance on the other side where it starts. So here, as I'm truing up some of these lines, it's worth to note that these pieces have already been glued in this sequence, and we didn't really get any footage of that. But what you want to do is you want to basically take both pieces, and you're gonna want to put some sort of adhesive, some sort of glue into both sides, and then you're going to want to put some weight on it and leave it overnight or a couple days, however long the glue takes to dry. Here you can see me actually making the runes, the lettering that'll go on the axe itself that we put into the concepts. Yeah, it's based off of the design is it's draconic from D&D, from the player's handbook. And you see me here taking a X-Acto knife, a maker's best friend, and I'm basically carving into it using angled cuts to make it look like it's been carved out. What you just saw me do there is I changed my blades because insulation foam, it really takes a lot out of your blades. It eats blades up like it's nothing. So you're going to want to change your blades regularly, make sure that they're sharp, and if they start catching, which is basically when it's dull enough that it takes some of the material with it while you're cutting and it's not an even smooth cut, you're going to want to change it right away. That really changes the texture of what you're trying to do. So this is it doesn't really matter for this build because it's more of a rough design, but if you're doing something very precise and even and geometric, it's going to be integral that you change your blades every couple of minutes. And quick cut to my garage, I guess. Here you see me taking a box cutter, the same that I used to make the silhouette. You can use any knife you want, but here I'm putting in the bevels. And this is one of the more time-consuming processes, so put something in the background and make sure that you're entertained, because this is going to take a long time. You're going to want to do smooth, even strokes and make sure that you're not carving into something that you want to check every so often to see that you're not carving into something important and something that you're not supposed to. But it's relatively easy, but it's just time consuming and tedious. And you see the bevel itself, the edge is taking shape on the axe. Here, I'm taking a sanding sponge, and it's basically a higher grit sanding sponge, and I'm smoothing out the bevel on the axe, because carving into it with a box cutter, it'll take out most of the material, but you still want a good even curve. So you're gonna want to sand it down after you're done your rough cutting. Here we're beginning to paint it, and basically what we're doing is taking, me and Caden there, we're taking red paint, and we're taking paint brushes and basically painting the inside of those carved lines that you saw us do earlier. And it adds another layer of depth and texture, a different color in your carvings and engravings, and kind of trying to go for like almost magical, like it's kind of like a magical weapon. So the fact that the runes are a different color make it kind of like pop. So now what we're doing is we're taking sponge brushes, and we're going over the lines themselves with a different color and the color of the face itself. And well, it really going over it with a sponge brush really makes a difference, because it goes over the line of the carving itself, and it just does the outer layer, and that's what we were trying to go for. It saves you a lot of time actually, instead of going back and forth and painting it one color and then it going into the lines afterwards. And here's me spinning it around and drying it, you know. So here, this is basically a piece of sandpaper and a styrofoam ball. This is for the pommel, I guess you'd call it, the bottom side of the axe, where opposite to where the head is. And basically, I'm flattening it out so that I can add foam on top of it farther into the dowel later. You'll see what I mean. Here I'm taking the dowel and I'm basically marking the outline of it on the face, the flat face that I've made on the styrofoam ball. I'm just marking with the Sharpie, and that's so that you know, or well, I knew that where to make my my cuts, I guess, because in the next sequence, what I do is I take a soldering iron and I basically go into the foam itself, and it melts it around it, and it makes it's way easier than carving out the material, because the material, you don't have to worry about digging the material out and using a knife to dig the material. Here I'm showing you the soldering iron itself. Like I said, here I'm taking the soldering iron and I'm basically melting the styrofoam, and you're gonna want to be in a really well ventilated area here, because heating up foam and synthetic products creates fumes that are actually really bad for you. So don't do this anywhere. This is in my garage, and the garage door is open so that we can let in a lot of air and let the fumes out. So you really want to make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area where the fumes will disperse, so that you don't inhale that stuff, because that stuff is brutal. Here I'm basically telling you guys that I take a hot glue gun and I pour some glue into the end of the ball, and I stick it on the end of the dowel. Yeah. Anyways, here I took the head of the axe and I basically marked it where I wanted it to go on the dowel itself. And here, very clever, if you don't have enough money to afford actual wood stain, what you do is you take water, had water in that cup, and you pour in some brown paint, and you mix it in so that the paint itself is very diluted. And you take it and you basically paint the dowel as you would we're regularly painting anything. And once you do that, you take a paper towel and wipe off the excess, and that the water lets the paint soak into the wood more instead of just settling on top of it and drying. And that kind of it produces an alright product, and it kind of mimics what a stain actually does. Here I'm just painting the ball, the end of the axe with the same color that I painted the head of the axe with. Now, you saw it in the previous clip, but here what I'm doing is I'm wrapping the dowel itself with a rope, and taking an extra step like this, wrapping the dowel with rope or adding real life materials and elements that would look like they would be on a weapon is a very smart step, because it adds a level of almost realism, I guess. Like it makes it more realistic. And basically what it is I just took some hot glue and I put it on the dowel, and then here I'm just letting the glue cool off, and basically I wrap the top part of the dowel itself with the rope. Don't mind that, we were just rolling dice. Yeah, we know. So here, one of the most important steps in a prop or costume build is the weathering, and what I'm doing is I'm basically taking the two tones of paint, the darker gray and the lighter gray, and I'm basically like mixing them together and making sure that the edge of the bevel doesn't look as even as it does. And this adds a lot of character to any build, and it's where you can add your own touch, your flair, your story to anything, and it adds a layer of realism. And basically, I'm taking a lot of water and kind of like making sure that it doesn't look too even. Yeah, you see me there smudging the paint, and it adds to the texture of the bevel, the edge itself. Here what I'm doing is it's called dry brushing, and it's when you take a very dry brush and you dip it into some paint and make sure that it's not too thick on your paintbrush, and you basically just go over. So here I'm taking a brown and I'm going over the edge of it and making it look like it's been through blood and dirt, and it's been rusted, and it adds a lot of depth and character to the build.